Hey everybody, it's the Marne Morning Show. Welcome, welcome. And today we're going to talk a little bit about one of my favorite subjects, and that is speaking your truth, or as most of us do, not speaking our truth. I've been silencing myself and not really speaking my truth for decades. Even as a young person, not being able to speak up and really feel like our opinion matters. Some people are actually really practiced at speaking their truth, but it doesn't come out with kindness and compassion. And I know for me, as a business person or professional person, from my experience, I think the reason why we don't speak our truth is that one is that we're afraid of what other people are going to think about us. That's a big thing for me. Afraid that people are going to find out that we're a fraud. I know most of us have imposter syndrome. Who am I to talk about what is on my mind? Because, maybe that comes from a lifetime of feeling unworthy, the unworthiness issues around speaking our truth. And also, I think fear of retaliation. So speaking our truth can come with consequences. So I know that some of us may not even speak our truth because we fear the consequence of speaking our own truth. What are some things that we can do in our daily lives that help us get into the pattern of being able to speak our truth? Some of the things that I practice when speaking my truth that actually have worked for me. So I want to talk about that. And the first thing is to notice that when you're not speaking up and when you're silencing yourself. So do you guys have that experience when you want to add to the conversation, but you're afraid of what other people are going to feel about what you're saying, so you just don't say anything at all? Usually what I say and what I start out with, which kind of softens it for myself. And so I don't know if you've tried this or if this is helpful to you at all, but the first thing that I do is I say, well, that's interesting, but my experience is, that's interesting, and my experience is, and so you can just talk about your experience of the situation. And a lot of times when we feel like maybe we're like in over our heads, or we're talking about a topic that maybe we don't know a lot about, or it could even be in an intimate relationship where someone's telling you something about themselves. It's about, the compassionate and the kindness of listening. And it's about saying, oh, well, that's interesting. That's your perspective is interesting. I find your perspective to be interesting. And it's a little bit different it's different than my perspective. What is, let me tell you about what my perspective is on the situation. Or it kind of takes the heat off a little bit of, you don't have to be an expert in any situation, but you're having an experience, right? You're having an experience of a situation, or you're having an experience of a person, and your experience is just as valid as other people's experiences, right? And so that's kind of how I back it up for myself. When I have this fear of speaking, I can say, well, my experience of it is this. And you actually don't even have to be an expert at whatever the conversation is. You could say, well, my experience of this is this. And so that kind of eases us into this ability to say what's on our mind and speak our truth. So I know that when we don't speak our truth, that's not a free and full expression of oneself. And so this idea of being free and having a full expression of oneself is, I think, what we all want to feel. And I've got an amazing person who just came in, and I'm going to add her to the stage. She's my dear friend, Jayme. Coming in. Oh my God. So it's so amazing that you're coming in right at this moment, because we are talking about full expression of oneself. So one of the things I've been talking about is easing into it by saying, oh, that's interesting. And my perspective of this experience is this. Instead of, and that's a kind and compassionate way of talking about what your experience is. And this could be an intimate relationship, it could be in a group, it could be in a business setting, it could be whatever. It's just kind of dialing it back and saying, this is what my experience of this situation is. Okay, so I'll drop it there. And so I want you to pick it up there. But first, give us a little introduction about you.
Well, my name is Jayme, and I am a very good friend of Marnie's. I love her dearly. Who am I? Oh my gosh, that's the question. I am many things, a multidimensional being who is deeply committed to my spiritual journey and elevating myself and being a representative of a high conscious person living in a material world and representing that and standing for all humans on their journey.
Oh my God, I love it. Okay, so, but let's talk a little bit about speaking your truth. I know this is something that you and I have worked on together. You and I have worked on separately. These are conversations that we're always finding ourselves in about how we can speak our truth. And how do you do it? How do you practice speaking your truth in a kind and compassionate way that can benefit you and all beings involved?
Well, there's speaking your truth when it relates to maybe a perspective you're having of another. And then there's speaking your truth on the perspective that you're having of yourself in relationship to that other. So I think one area that I'm unwavering in is speaking my truth when it has to do with myself. And I just have an inability not to speak my truth, as you know.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage.
Yes.
It's setting boundaries, and it's where you will and will not tolerate encroachment or definition of self. And that definition comes through a journey of exploring yourself, right? And there's many ways of doing that. So once you kind of understand who you are, which is always shifting and changing, it's your responsibility to speak your truth. And there's that piece of it. In terms of speaking truth because you need to make a request to someone else, then it is really, I think, speaking with compassion and wisdom, right? And speaking of your experience in a loving, kind, and firm way when required. And then when you need something from that other person, you make the request. And then you also realize it's a request, not a demand. And the other person gets to choose if that works for them.
Right.
And it may just be it's not working in the moment or in the time. And it may just be you're not synchronized in that moment. You're not vibrating at the same level of understanding. And so then there's where you step into surrender, and you have to lovingly let go. And it's not easy because sometimes you're really intertwined in relationship, be it personal, romantic, business.
Okay, so this brings me up to sort of my next question, and I'm always talking to myself because I'm always on a spiritual quest and journey to understand why I operate the way that I do, the patterns that I have in my life. I'm always very interested in how I'm perceiving life, because I know that it's through a filter, and I'm always trying to remove the filter. But for our audience, what do you think give me some reasons, like, why do we not speak our truth?
I mean, that's a question that's really a personal experience. And we're talking about patterns and traumas. We are all walking around with generational trauma. And I think, if anything, I have such deep compassion for myself and for knowing we're all on a journey where everyone has their own patterns.
Yes.
So that answer will be different, I think, for everyone. What is that? It could be a blockage from any numerous source. I know that there are sort of patterns that we all can identify with in some level of I'm not enough, and whatever that means for you, maybe rejection, abandonment, not being wanted, not feeling safe, some version of that blocks us from not speaking our truth, or you've spoken your truth and you've been persecuted for it.
Retaliation, persecution. I know. I think that's one thing that has come to me in this life, speaking my truth, retaliation, persecution. But then I also know that I'm probably bringing many, many generations, many other lives that I've had where I probably spoke my truth and got my head chopped off for it. So
as have I.
Yeah. So I think we remember that, but it's almost like we remember it I don't know. It's like we remember it, but we don't remember it. And have you considered that this is the lifetime that you're going to clear all of that? I have wondered that about myself. I wondered, I don't know, but sometimes I see my ego coming in. It's like a sneaky little comes in and it plays. And I'm like, really? I thought we were, but I know that you said that to me the other night and that hit me. You were like, I don't want to come back. I want this to be my last go around as human. And I feel you on that. I know what a challenge it is to be human, how glorious it is to be human at the same time. But really, I think now is the time that we are set up for that ascension. Mm-hmm. And we're becoming more and more aware, and we have more tools now, maybe, than we did in previous lives to be able to become conscious and to start consciously making choices. But so I think speaking our truth maybe is the ladder that we need to get to the ascension.
Well, I think we're at a point now because the earth as a conscious being is elevating its consciousness. So it's impacting all of us. We have the sun rays coming in. We're really being activated at this time. So we're supported by the planet. And so not speaking your truth is becoming no longer an option because it's like the shadow is being drawn out of us because those that have devoted and committed to being of the light, even if it looks like we're not doing it right, because we have these cycles of even dark nights of the soul where it's like purging out. This is why a lot of people are leaning towards medicine journey and the healing arts, because we're purging out those pieces of us, the broken, unhealed, old story pieces that block us from speaking our truth.
And so what's your advice for people who are maybe in a situation right now where they know they should speak their truth and they're having a hard time saying what they need to say?
I think really going internal to listen to the internal dialogue. So quieting the mind and then like being really like a quiet space to hear the thoughts and not reject the thoughts that aren't favorable and kind of like, oh, did I just think that and say that? Like really sort of look at it and then get down to the bottom of what it is that is the truth behind that dialogue, so that you can understand what your truth is like. And so first it's the discovery of the truth through really inner reflection.
Right.
And
nice.
then it's cultivating with grace a response. Yes. And sometimes grace means being really intense and firm if you need to, depending on where, like if it's in a situation where, for example, it's an abusive situation. Now, granted, there's different scales of that, so be wary, but like sometimes being graceful means being really firm and intense. Like the compassion Buddha has a gentle side and a fierce side. So
I know you and I could go on and on to talk about all kinds of things, but we're gonna call it good for now. So how do people get a hold of you, Jayme?
Right now the best two methods are and they're different polarities of my personality. There's my Instagram handle, Jayme, Jayme.Johnson, Johnsson. I think I'm 2.0. You'll find me with pink hair. And then I've got my LinkedIn profile, which is LinkedIn and then / Jayme Johnson 1, spelled Jayme. So one's my business side, one's my sort of visual arts, kind of fun, creative side. Feel free to reach out whichever one sort of you're steering towards. If it's business, hit me up on LinkedIn. If it's more personal, hit me up on Instagram. And
well, we're going to end here. Lots of love to our audience. I hope you enjoyed Jayme's words, and send you all lots of love. Thanks for joining the Marne Morning Show, and we'll see you real soon. Bye.
Thank you.